This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thank you so much for joining us this Thursday, February 25th, 2021. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, congressional Democrats taking on conservative-leaning news organizations investigating their coverage of the pandemic and the presidential election. But some calling their moves censorship, with one Republican comparing them to Chinese communists. The House set to vote on the Equality Act for civil rights for LGBTQ people, but critics warn it could crush religious freedom. We're going to look at an alternative measure that's been offered. Is big tech working to silence voices it doesn't agree with? We're going to hear from one watchdog group who says social media websites close them out, but they have a plan to fight back. And praying for young people and revival tonight. Thousands of college students, faculty, and churches across the country joining together for the National Collegiate Day of Prayer. All those stories and more are ahead in this edition of CBN Newswatch. We begin this half hour with a move by Democratic lawmakers to investigate the role the media may have played in spreading misinformation about the election and the global pandemic. Their target, conservative-leaning news channels like Fox News and Newsmax, which they have dubbed a destabilizing threat to the country. Critics call their moves government attempts to censorship and contrary to the constitutional protections of the First Amendment. Our George Thomas has more on the lobbying efforts to pressure television providers to drop these channels.
Some say there's a war brewing against conservative media, while others argue it's just another example of Democrats trying to censor viewpoints and political speech they don't like or agree with. On Wednesday, the Democrat-led House Energy and Commerce Committee held a virtual hearing on, quote, disinformation and extremism in the media.
When truth becomes a commodity to be traded upon for profit, and facts and consequences don't matter to those who report them, our democracy is undermined.
Before the hearing, Democrat Representatives Jerry McNerney and Anna Eshoo of California wrote letters to TV providers, including Comcast, AT&T, Cox, and Verizon, demanding to know how they plan to stop what they called the spread of dangerous misinformation from right-leaning news outlets like Newsmax, One America News Network, and Fox News.
Let me put it bluntly. Misinformation is killing Americans and damaging our democracy.
Democrats accuse the outlets of being a destabilizing threat to the country and functioning as rumor mills and conspiracy theory hotbeds with their coverage of the presidential election and the global pandemic. Republicans on the committee pushed back, calling the hearing an attack on the First Amendment.
Elected officials using their platform to pressure private companies to censor media outlets they disagree with? That sounds like actions from the Chinese Communist Party, not duly elected representatives of the United States Congress.
In their letter, Eshoo and McNerney asked the TV providers to give their moral reasoning for allowing tens of millions to watch Fox News and other networks. They also asked if they'll continue hosting them, and if so, why? Jonathan Turley, professor at George Washington University Law School, was among those called to testify.
From the perspectives of free speech and the free press, the letter is not just chilling, it's positively glacial.
Dr. Frank Wright of D. James Kennedy Ministries knows what it's like to be on the receiving end of censorship. Earlier this month, the ministry's weekly Christian program was forced off Lifetime TV after it aired, among other things, a pro-life special.
The ultimatum we received was basically, your programming going forward must have all non-controversial topics in order to continue to air on our network. You know, if you're a biblical Christian these days, there's not much in the culture that's not considered controversial.
And the censorship is happening online as well with big tech companies. This past Sunday, Dr. Ryan Anderson's book, which challenges progressive ideas about gender, was pulled from Amazon's cyber shelves.
We're going to have to think through how we as conservatives approach both the governmental side and the big business side, because both of them seem to be hostile to people with traditional American values.
The House Energy and Commerce Committee will hear next month from the CEOs of Twitter, Facebook, and Google. George Thomas, CBN News.
Congress is also set to decide landmark legislation for LGBTQ people, critics saying that it would be devastating for religious freedom. The House is set to vote today on a bill called the Equality Act. It's designed to expand civil rights protections for LGBTQ people. But an alternative is also being offered that would provide those civil liberties along with protections for people of faith. Heather Sells has the story.
The Equality Act rewrites the 1964 Civil Rights Act to include sexual orientation and gender identity, but it also tramples on religious belief.
The Equality Act isn't just neutral towards that, it's actually quite hostile towards religious freedom.
Republican Congressman Chris Stewart is leading a bipartisan alternative called Fairness for All.
Most of us are in a position in life now where we want to guarantee the civil liberties and the freedoms of all Americans, including LGBTQ Americans.
It would protect gay and transgender people from employment and housing discrimination while also protecting people of faith.
There's room here to find an area where both can be accommodated, where both can be comfortable. The Equality Act doesn't do that. Fairness for All will.
But many in the conservative movement, like the Heritage Foundation and the Family Research Council, argue Fairness for All doesn't go far enough.
What we need to do is we need to allow people to continue to live their lives according to their faith. And if someone is deprived of their rights, then we deal with that.
Southern Baptists call the religious protections insufficient and fear the bill will use the federal government to impose a new orthodoxy on matters of sexuality and gender across the entire country through the Civil Rights Act. Pro-life advocates note it could mandate taxpayer funding of elective abortion and violate health care provider conscience rights. The big question, will the Senate truly debate the Equality Act? Moderate Republican Susan Collins, an early sponsor, has pulled her support, and Mitt Romney also opposes, citing religious liberty. Still, there is much momentum for the LGBTQ measure, including powerful backing from President Biden. It's why Fairness for All backers say conservatives should work with their bill or risk passage of the Equality Act. Heather Sells, CBN News.
The House is on its way to passing the Democrats' $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill, and that is not all. More high-priced legislation is said to be coming down the pipeline from the Biden administration. With the national debt already skyrocketing, fiscal conservatives are concerned we're digging a hole we cannot get out of. Caitlin Burke is on the story.
The House is expected to pass President Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID relief package later this week. But in the Senate, Republicans plan to put up a fight.
Every single dollar we spend on COVID is something we're borrowing from our children or from China or from other places. So before we borrow more money to be able to spend on what people want, we need to make sure that we're covering only the essential needs. So let's borrow what we need to get through it, but not more than we need to.
While Republicans and fiscal conservatives can get behind the money going towards targeted COVID relief, like unemployment benefits and funding for vaccine distribution, they're concerned about the pork attached to this latest relief package.
So when those real needs drive up the deficit, we're going to have to tolerate it. But when we're talking about pet projects for members of Congress, absolutely should not be part of the conversation.
In February, the Congressional Budget Office projected the 2021 federal budget deficit to be $2.3 trillion, the second highest in our history. And that doesn't include this new $1.9 trillion relief package.
When you look at industrialized nations right now, there's only a handful of countries that are in as bad a fiscal shape as we are. When you look at the size of our economy relative to our debt, we're at about 100% debt to GDP ratio. That's bad news. That puts us in the same boat as the Greeces and Portugals and Italys of the world.
Still, the Biden administration is already laying the groundwork for an additional economic relief package focused on infrastructure. Some predicting it could cost another $2 to $4 trillion. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
Israel has undertaken a major construction project in its nuclear program. New satellite images reveal it's dramatically expanding its nuclear facility at a secretive nuclear facility at the center of an undeclared atomic weapons program. The photos show a construction site about the size of a soccer field next to Israel's nuclear research center. The center's heavy water reactor has been in operation since the 1960s. The facility is home to underground labs that reprocess nuclear material to weapons-grade plutonium. Israel began its nuclear program decades ago, and experts estimate it has material for at least 80 atomic bombs. The construction project is the largest at the site in decades, but the purpose is not known. Pastor John Baker, founder of the faith-based Celebrate Recovery ministry designed to help people to break free from their hurts, habits, and hang-ups, has died. Celebrate Recovery is a Christ-centered 12-step program based out of Rick Warren's Saddleback Church. Baker and his wife Cheryl founded the ministry in 1991 as a result of his own struggle with alcoholism. Mac Owen, the national director for Celebrate Recovery, wrote, "John touched more people with the healing power and grace of Jesus Christ than anyone else that I have ever known personally, and one of those lives was mine." You can find out more about Baker's life and ministry at cbnnews.com. Coming up, we were silenced by big tech. That is what one watchdog group is saying. You're going to hear them make their case and explain how they're fighting back. We've got the story coming up next.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN NewsWatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Superbook fans, here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
The Millsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Big tech and social media censorship. Twitter, Facebook, and others insist they do not discriminate against conservatives, but they have a hard time convincing Project Veritas of that. On this week's episode of Global Lane, Project Veritas Media Relations Manager Mario Blabane says social media companies recently worked together to silence the organization.
We launched a video on Facebook late in January. Guy Rosen was one of the people we investigated. He was quoted saying how Facebook freezes commenting that they deem to be hate speech. We went to find Guy Rosen a few days after that video was published to get comment, which is a very normal, common practice in journalism to get comment. And the term is door stopping someone to get comment on something they said. This guy obviously is someone of high importance in Facebook. We went to ask questions. He didn't answer. We published a video of him ignoring our questions, and Twitter decided to say that video of asking Guy Rosen for comment violated their privacy policy. So with that, they locked our account temporarily, both James O'Keefe's account and Project Veritas' account. And in a few hours, when we decided to appeal that through the Project Veritas account, they simply decided they wanted to suspend permanently the Project Veritas account. So they just permanently suspended Project Veritas, but they have reinstated James O'Keefe. But of course, the double standards here of, CNN doing similar things and other media outlets doing the exact same thing as we do and never getting any issues from that is just obvious and, out of control.
Well, I don't understand. How did you violate his privacy when you actually asked him questions for him to respond to?
So he was right outside of his house, and from the video, you cannot tell what city he's in, what state he's in, the zip code he's in. Absolutely, there's nothing you could tell about the location he was in. The only slight moment you could see anything there was a house number, which still doesn't tell you anything of where that house is located. So they basically try to say that we exposed where this man lived, but watching that video and the caption we put on the video, it's impossible to tell where he lived.
So Twitter is now defending Facebook. Is this a first where social media giants have teamed up against free speech, or has it happened before?
So I'm sure it's happened before. It was interesting observing in this case. So YouTube also took that, as Twitter was doing this, YouTube decided it was a good opportunity for them to give us a strike as well and remove our video from their platform. But what was interesting is that, obviously, since the video was about Guy Rosen, a Facebook executive, both Facebook and Instagram did not do anything with the video. I think my opinion here is that there could potentially be optics there involved, where if Facebook removed a video about Facebook executives, it would look really, really bad for them. So I think they enabled their allies at Twitter and YouTube to do the dirty work and, try to get Project Veritas off of social media.
Mario, we've seen President Trump permanently banned from Twitter, accounts suspended for many people who question the results of the last election. Also, those who question COVID vaccines and COVID policy. What's happening here, and just how dangerous is it?
It's funny you bring up COVID vaccines, because just 2 days ago, we launched a new leaked tape from Facebook. We're still going, by the way. We're not stopping. The leaked tape from Mark Zuckerberg in July talking about how he was concerned about COVID vaccines modifying people's DNA and RNA. And on Facebook now, just a couple weeks ago, they just instated a policy which says if you discuss the DNA and RNA modification coming from the vaccine, you'll be, removed or banned. So basically, the Facebook CEO can discuss it in private, but in public, if the 3 billion users want to discuss it, they cannot. So that just came out recently, and it was another bombshell story. We've done several bombshell big tech stories just in 2021, and there's plenty more to come.
Well, it seems like that's, science and medicine to question results and to look at other results. Well, Parler's back in business after Amazon pulled them from their web services. So how do conservatives respond? What must be done?
I mean, it's important to understand that it is good to have, other platforms that promote free speech. But also the discourse and politics, it's important to understand that Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, you have to use them because a lot of people who don't necessarily agree with your point of view are using that. And in order to get to those people, you must use platforms that don't like you, to be honest. So I agree, using Parler. Telegram, for us, by the way, has been very successful. Recently, we've grown tremendously. But it's important to use all of them, both the platforms that censor you so you can get your message across, but also platforms that enable you to say what you want to say without any backlash.
And quickly, finally, how is this all affecting Project Veritas? You've done remarkable undercover work over the years on vote fraud, other nefarious behavior. What now for you?
So we're going to keep going. Our big thing in 2021, which we've been expanding since 2019, is our insider program. We want insiders from big tech, media, especially government today, to come to us with information. We want to enable people who want to be whistleblowers to come to Project Veritas and expose wrongdoing. So this is a big project, and getting censored on social media will not stop us. We will, share our videos by proxy. We'll send our videos out through email, through Telegram, ask people to embed. Imagine hundreds of thousands of people getting our emails and Telegram messages, embedding our videos onto Twitter. Is Twitter going to ban hundreds of thousands of people? So that's our message, is that nothing that they can do will stop us or deter us.
You can see more of this interview and hear about other important trends in the news on the Global Lane this evening at 8:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel. Still ahead, it's a tragic side effect of the COVID-19 pandemic, the growth of sexual exploitation online. We're going to bring you a look at this year's Dirty Dozen list of the worst offenders right after this.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Catholic Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m.
Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
After a year of looking at the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, there's now more evidence it's also led to greater sexual exploitation. The center which investigates the frightening trend has just released this year's Dirty Dozens list. As Paul Strand shows us, it's clear the skyrocketing use of the internet contributed greatly to the serious issue of sexual abuse.
We've known for years how pornography makes billions through the web. In looking at this year's National Center on Sexual Exploitation Dirty Dozen, the connection of giants like Amazon, Netflix, and Chromebooks to sexual exploitation should set off major alarms in homes across the country.
In a sad example of how the pandemic has put millions more children at risk of exposure to porn or being sexually exploited is the soaring use of Google Chromebooks for distance learning. But their safety features are often left turned off, or children find workarounds.
Parents and teachers often don't even realize that there's a problem until a student has shared pornography with another student or they notice changes in their children.
Reddit calls itself the front page of the internet, but those releasing today's Dirty Dozen charge that Reddit acts more like a back page, as it serves as a hub where sex buyers find people to purchase and sexual predators distribute hardcore pornography as well as non-consensually share images. Amazon's high ranking this year is due to the amount of sexual-themed material sold by the retail giant and the nudity and sex on Amazon Prime Video. There's also an issue with the way children are often targeted on Amazon's gamers platform, Twitch.
The number of children on the platform are below the minimum legal age. There are frequent conversations between children and strangers, with strangers daring kids to do explicit acts or to share their contact information.
OnlyFans made the Dirty Dozen list because many young people thrown out of work by the pandemic now use OnlyFans to sell images or videos of their bodies to make fast cash. Nevada returns to the list because of its legalized brothels. And Netflix is there because of the amount of sexually graphic or degrading content it continues to make available. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Coming up, thousands of college students and faculty members will be coming together this evening for the National Day of Collegiate Prayer, and it's hosted by Regent University. We're going to have the story for you when we come back.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30. Your news channel, your shows, the stories you care about. Anytime you want, anywhere you want. Download the CBN News app today.
College students and faculty members across the country will be uniting in prayer this evening for the National Collegiate Day of Prayer. Thousands of campus ministries, churches, and individuals across America are expected to take part. This year's event is being hosted by our very own Regent University in Virginia Beach. Dr. Jason Moreno-Riano says the goal is to bring them together to pray for students, colleges, and universities, and for revival.
Some of the greatest revivals in our country began in college campuses. And we think that universities are just pivotal to the future of our country, and its students are pivotal, obviously. So we want to really pray for the Lord to do a great work in the hearts and minds of all of us and our students and faculty and staff throughout America.
The time of prayer will be simulcast live with various remote locations and Zoom rooms from across the nation from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find out more about this important event at our website, cbnnews.com. Time now for your Thursday Thankful, and I hope you'll join me in this prayer of gratitude today. God, I thank you for every moment that I can just be close to you. It is my desire today and every day. With that word, I encourage you to walk in gratitude today and for the rest of the week. Focus on making that a reality and do it on purpose and with purpose. That will do it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. You can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. Make time to let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us right there at the address on your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. And, of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We certainly would love to hear from you. Again, I encourage you to make today a thankful Thursday. We'll see you right back here, same time and place tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody. God bless.